So we're back again for another video. The videos are going to come thick and fast now as we're entering the Six Nations. In today's video we'll look at the best cheap players in fantasy and a kind of similar format to my previous video. But also looking at my leagues on the game, it's really good to see how many of you have joined. I've also set up another league called JG Rugby 2 just so that everyone else can join. I think it's capped at 100 players per league, which is obviously a bit frustrating. So use the links in the description to join each of the leagues or just one of the leagues. I'll be comparing at the end of the tournament to see who obviously is the overall winner. As mentioned in the last video, we do have a sponsor for this upcoming Six Nations in Fanzo and their Guinness Point Predictor. Please, you'd be really helping the channel. Just go to the App Store, download Fanzo, log in and join my league, JG Rugby. All you've got to do is predict some scores and you can win free pints or even free other prizes as well. I'll be doing it, so get involved. So first off, in the prop position, I've gone for Andrew Porter. Now, Andrew Porter is 12 stars in the game, which is actually quite cheap compared to other props. So Ellis Genge in my previous video was 16 stars, you've got Cyril Bay at 15, Ty Furlong at 15. So I think Andrew Porter's pretty nailed on to start as well. I think it's either him or Cian Healy. But with obviously Andrew Porter starting for Leinster and Leinster's form, I imagine he's probably going to get some good minutes and start for Ireland. So not overly cheap, but it's a prop. He's 12 stars and he's nailed on to start. And Ireland have a chance of winning this year's Six Nations. Next up at hooker, I've actually gone for Jack Walker. So we all know England's troubles with injuries recently, and obviously Jamie George and both Cowan-Dickie are unavailable. The only other two hookers have been brought in after the initial squad announcement, with Blamire and obviously Tom Dunn. So Jack Walker was there from the start. That tells me obviously Borthwick has more faith in him. Maybe he'll start him, maybe he won't. Tom Dunn obviously has more experience, so does Blamire within England, but Jack Walker was picked first, so look, to me that indicates that he might start. He's also 9 stars. The other England options in Blamire and Dunn are also pretty cheap as well. Blamire at 10.2 stars and Tom Dunn at 9.4. But look, I put my faith in Jack Walker just because he was in the initial squad announcement. So that's my pick for hooker. Obviously, you've got crazy expensive options with likes of Dan Sheehan, Julian Marchand, Ken Owen at 13 as well. So I think the England hookers are a pretty good option, especially with Borthwick, who loves a driving line-out. And next up is Chris Shunza, probably the cheapest, probably power pick I'd say in the game. 9 stars, he can play back row or second row. Obviously not nailed on to start. You've got the likes of Adam Beard, Alwyn Jones in the second row, but the back row is pretty free as well, I think. Obviously you've got Jack Morgan, Tipperick, Faletau will probably play, but with regards to obviously being a cheap option and who could really make an impact for Wales, Shunza is, I would say, up there. If he starts, he'll be class, but also a really good option for super sub as well. I think he can hopefully turn Wales' fortunes around. And leading on is Jack Morgan. So he's been absolutely insane for Wales over the past few tests that he's played, scoring literally a bag full of tries. But then also the Ospreys form in Europe, but also the URC has been amazing, and he's thrived. I think he was man of the match against Leicester when they beat them at home. So absolute powerhouse here, and he does find himself in the wide position, so really good option in the back row for obviously scoring. So definitely keep Jack Morgan in mind. He also scored huge points in the Autumn Nations, so I think he's got to be in your team if he starts. Next, I've picked Ben White. Now, not nailed on to start. I think Ali Price will probably do that job, but every time he's come on for Scotland, he does seem to pick up a try or two, and obviously that's a pretty good knack to have. Scotland are obviously one of those uncertain teams where I guess you don't know if they're going to win or lose by, say, 40 points. But when Ben White comes on, he does seem to make an impact and get himself in good try-scoring positions. So again, for another super sub option, I think he's right up there. At fly half, I've actually picked Tommaso Allan. Now, Allan has obviously been playing for Harlequins lately because Smith's injury, but he's also the only Italian 10 in the fantasy game at least. So if Allan starts, I think he's a really good option. He's also 11 stars, which is way cheaper than any other fly half. Smith and Sexton are both 18 stars, so I think if you're looking for a cheap option at fly half, then Allan is definitely the go-to. He'll also kick goals for Italy, which is pretty crucial for them as well. And look, they're also playing well. They won a fair few games in the Autumn Nations, so definitely not to be written off. Then in the centres, I've gone with Tuipulotu. So this one actually probably shocked me the most. I think Tuipulotu is pretty nailed on to start for Scotland along with Chris Harris. He's been playing obviously for Glasgow with Hugh Jones in the centre, which has been pretty decent for them. Now, Tuipulotu's only 11 stars. Bear that in mind that Chris Harris is 15 stars, so I think it's a really, really decent option. I also think that the other centres, like Ringrose Fiku, may be nailed on for some people, so as a huge differential, Tuipulotu is going to stand out in your team. So for the back three, I've actually picked two. So as you can see there, Bruno is obviously on the wing, but De Mortier is also a back three player, but is down as a centre in the game. We'll get to him soon. But first of all, let's talk about Bruno. Now, Bruno has obviously found some huge form with Italy, scored a handful of tries in the Autumn Nations as well when they've picked up wins, and also proposed to his, obviously, fiancée now on the pitch after the game. So, crazy stuff from him, and at 9 stars, I really think he's a great option if he starts, so be sure to check the team sheets. Then, De Mortier, obviously ripping it up for Lyon. I think he's top try scorer in the top 14 at the moment. So really huge and differential option, like I was talking about Tuipulotu in the centre. He'll be a back three player and may pick up a huge bagload of tries, just like Penaud on the other wing. You just have to check, obviously, the team sheets because France have Labelle as well, who also is maybe more nailed on to start than him. De Mortier might be a little bit more of a risk, but if he's in the team, you can guarantee he's going to get some good points. So that is the end of the video. Let me know any other cheap players or differential players that you're looking at in the comments below. That was my, I guess, few players that I have on my mind for the opening week. I think De Mortier is definitely a really good option. France are most likely to win the Grand Slam, right? So if he's in the team, he's going to get amazing points, exactly like Penaud. Also, if he starts, a really good captain option for differentials, just like Villiers did in the last Six Nations, scoring 3 tries on the opening day. And France have Italy first, so keep your eyes peeled, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back next week for another video. Stay tuned.